Assalamu alaikum. I would like to ask everyone to ensure me about the audio.
Yes, sir. Audio clear.
Is everything
I
clear?
can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah,
Okay.
everything is clear.
Okay. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to everyone present here today. Hope you are all safe and sound during this pandemic situation. On behalf of Altitude Engineering, I would like to thank everyone for joining us for today's webinar on impactful research publication and scientific paper writing guidance, where uh, we will be providing, sorry for the technical issues, where we will be providing you with an overview on how to get started with research publications. So stay tuned until the end of the webinar. My name is Yasin Had Khan, student of second semester and currently studying in International Islamic University, Chittagong in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. And I will also be your host, and uh, along with me is my co-host, Humaira Akhtar Nisa.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Humaira Akhtar, student of first semester studying in International Islamic University, Chittagong at the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to provide a brief introduction of Altitude Engineering. Altitude Engineering is an engineering service company and a research institute situated in Chittagong, Bangladesh. The services we provide are engineering project management, industrial automation, installation, troubleshooting, product supply, and engineering training to the young engineering learners. Our goal is to provide quality engineering services, create manpower in the technical field, provide training and internship opportunities, help researchers and young entrepreneurs with technical support, collaborate with university professors and international community for the advancement of our present technology to move forward from a developing country to a developed country. In our 8 months journey, we have successfully completed quite a lot of projects amidst this pandemic situation, and we have earned a good impression from both industrial and academic fields. You can know more about our projects from our Facebook and LinkedIn page. Now, I would like to invite one of the co-founders of Altitude Engineering, Mr. Said bin Osman, to deliver his welcome speech. Said bhai, can you hear me?
Your microphone is muted, right?
Said, probably
Excuse
your
me.
microphone is
Excuse
muted.
me. Okay, so is it audible? Am I audible to the audience?
Yes, bhai. We
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon to everyone. Thanks for the audience for your valuable participation. We are really happy to have this session just right after the final examination and midterm, those who are starting in the university. So just feel relaxed and enjoy the session. Take the notes for the great startup for your research movement. So this session will introduce you with lots of insightful information that how you start a research work, what things you need to know about in this field, and how you work more effectively during your research work and get into the research communities. So our keynote speaker will cover the basics and a bit beyond further about research work and publication, as not all the information can be covered within a short session. So remember, if you are doing research and you have published your research paper, that means you have the contribution in international scientific community to explore more the science phenomena and push up this science in another step forward. So the same way the previous scientists did. So you maybe notice that as we already been together in this virtual session right now. Now the technology makes us get together on board from different remote places. That's the result of technology, where lots of research works have done behind this and incorporated all the science for this to make this happen today. So, and another, I can give you an example why you should do research concerning the present issue. You know, the corona pandemic has been shocked all over the world. So now we have got the corona vaccines, right? So this is the result of research work, really a pathetic hard work actually. This was doing the know. And there are lots of global problems we're facing as well. After all, but to solve these problems, researchers are doing their hard work to solve these issues and trying to give positive vibe in our global community. That is why you need to do research. And more or less, the last thing, everything has advantage and disadvantage. So the researchers can be good or bad. How? Some of the research works are involved in bad practices in technology, and more or less researchers are involved with evils to make money this time. So the matter of fact is, does your research is good for the people, is good for your community, your country, or is it being done for a good purpose or motive, or there is a chance of something really horrible purpose? So no matter what you are doing, how you're doing, I will personally encourage you to practice your research with a good purpose, with loyalty and the betterment for the future. So this is the end of my speech, and I would like to really thanks to the guest speaker and our key speaker for their valuable time, and I will appreciate the efforts for these to organize this session. Those who are doing behind to make this happen, this session happen. Thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Said bin Osman Bhaiya, for your insightful monologue. Now I would like to hand over the hosting curriculum to Humaira Akhtar Nisa. Humaira, can you hear me?
Now let us introduce our today's chief guest, Dr. Asmullah Nabil, faculty member of Tripoli Department, IUC Bangladesh. He completed his master's from Norway and PhD from New Zealand. He is also an ex-lecturer of Manakau Institute of Technology, New Zealand. It's a great pleasure and honor for our Altenware engineering team that Dr. Asmullah Nabil sir is our advisor and mentor of all our activities. We are greatly improving by his support and utmost care. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Asmullah Nabil sir to say a few words.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu alayka ala rasulullah, bishar li sadri wa yassir li amri, wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. So I have a small researcher here just beside me. My daughter is just annoying me what I'm doing, just wondering. So yes, I know Altair since its very beginning. So, they started during the Corona period, and it was a big challenge for them. And all their founders, co-founders, they're my students from my classroom students. Since I found them in my classroom in 2012 within the period 2012 to 2015. Like Rafat, Osman, and Jarir, all are my classroom students. And right now I see that there are other like Yasin. They're also very promising student, and I see that the facility that they are getting, I even didn't expect it when I was a student here. These things were beyond imagine, because at that time when I was doing my bachelor, since the period 2015, 2005, 2009, we hardly barely get these opportunities, and hardly heard about these words like research, doing publication, and getting involved with the research institution. So these are your opportunities. So yes, I'm your teacher, and I'm your student as well, because the way that you are progressing and the way you are expanding, there always I see that the new terms are coming, and I'm not probably familiar with these things, and probably things are changing too fast. And although I'm still in research, and this is a great opportunity for the new students who are working with Altair and who is studying over there and doing like a small internship. And anyway, you are connected with Altair, it's always great opportunity for you, because they are bringing people like Noshad sir from Malaysia, and now I see they're inviting a big profile like Munibul Hassan. I was just checking his profile from his website, and also from Google Scholar. Very nice profile. I have very high regards about Saint Bani University of Technology. I mean, my friends, brothers over there, and who have done from their PhD from there, and I know the faculties from there since long, but probably 9-10 years now. So I know the graduates who has done PhD from there. in 2010, 2012, 2015, even they graduated from 2018. So a lot of researchers are from there, and I see like I have like a good connection with him. I also work with SmartGate and also working with blockchain, and how he was relating all the things in just combining in a place. It was really interesting, and he has like a very good publication in the transaction and also like a high impactful journals. So what is all research about, and is it really all about your working? Why do I do research? Is it only for citation and increasing the number of publication, or you really have something impactful and it's making some, not a big change, even a small degree of change, it makes sense. So otherwise you're doing for the sake of increasing the number of publication and only the citation. Yeah, probably you will get to a position, and it will give you a position in the long run, faculty position or something. But will you be happy, or will you be loyalty to your morality for the research? So this all the things. I mean, I checked like all the keynote points that we'll be discussing, like how to get through the all the like Q1 to Q4 and all the research ranking and all the type of research papers, and discussing about all the blockchain and the SmartGate and all the what are the good journals and what are the bad journals, and more specifically this all about like your soft skill and where we'll be focusing, and not going through the like all the places. I see like the points, key points that we'll be discussing in the presentation. There's a very very straightforward and very to the point. So I'm sure that this is the right place that who are interested about research and want to know about the research. I wish I could have this opportunities to learn from a researcher like Munibul Hassan, probably 5-10 years back, or when I was a bachelor student. I wish I would have this opportunity to attend this kind of webinar, and it would probably give me like good boost up when I was a bachelor student, because I learned about this research when I went to Norway to do my master's, and later I get in touch with the professors who give us all his like whole life effort for just like even a small degree of research. So I've seen like how researcher like from even from I say if is from the researcher from even from Swinburne University. I know one Nasser Jadeh. He was from Sweden. I mean, he didn't get married, and he didn't go to any parties, and he was avoiding everything and just dedicated his life only for research. And what was that? And it was all about he did. He was one researcher from Swinburne, and he did one like diploma on statistics and one diploma on mathematics. Then his bachelor was all about electrical engineering, and he was working on power market. So you know, so the degree of like effort, the kind of that big effort he was putting into research, and eventually he came up with something meaningful. I mean, his all-out effort for like 5-10, probably 10+ years, it was meaningful in power research market. So I should not take a long time from you, and would rather give the floor to Dr. Munibul Hassan. I'd be very keen to see that how things will go, and how I'm looking forward to learn from him actually. So I'm a student here, and like you, and will be learning like you as well. So all the best for the presentation and for all the students. And I say that you are coming from different backgrounds, but still it will be very helpful for you. I vouch for you for it. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable speech. Now, the moment we have all been waiting for, welcoming our keynote speaker, Dr. Munibul Hassan, currently working as a postdoctoral research assistant at Swinburne University of Technology. He is a research paper reviewer of both in ISI industry journals and international conferences. We are honored to say that he received the Outstanding Reviewer Award from Elsevier Journal. He has also published a number of research papers based on blockchain technology, smart grid, artificial intelligence, big data, wireless network, and some other various high-tech fields. In this session, Dr. Munibul Hassan will introduce you with a lot of insightful information that will help you to understand how the research and publication is organized, and the outcome of this session will save your time and work more effectively during your research work. Sir will cover the basics and update beyond further research work. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat box. Now, I'd like to give the floor to Dr. Munibul Hassan sir to start this session.
Thank you so much, Mehra. And first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Asim, for such an honorable words. And I'll share my screen. Just give me a minute.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Yeah, by the time you start, I just wanted to know a few things. When did you do your PhD at Swinburne?
Just this year. I just completed this year.
Okay. So yeah, my cousin went there in 2010, probably 2010, 11, and it was a big incident over there, and he died over there. If you know, he died out of a heart attack. He was a PhD student and was a teacher as well in the same university that I'm working, but in different. So all the PhD students, they come over here from Swinburne. I asked if you meet him, but it was long back, 2010, 2011. Probably if you ask like other teachers, but you would know. It was big incident back then.
Okay, I did not know about that. Yeah.
I will try to get in touch with you.
Yeah, sure.
You were working with blockchain, and actually currently my two students, they're also working with blockchain, and we've already just published one paper on from MDPay sustainability, and also invention. That's all are like Q1, Q2, and still they are inviting me to publish for free publication, and they're just waiving the APC. So these things are, I think, these terms the students, they will learn from you, and big opportunities. Thank you very much to get connected with Ulterior. So they're situated very close from mine. I mean, I often try to travel to them and have some discussion with them.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I just need a confirmation that you people can see my screen and hear me as well. Can you hear me? I cannot see the chat because I'm sharing.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So today we'll be discussing about impactful research and publication guidelines. Like I'll give a brief overview as discussed like by Dr. Asim and others, and a little bit of introduction about me. I just recently completed my PhD from Swinburne. Currently, I'm a postdoc research assistant, and till now, like I've published for more than 40, I've served as a reviewer for more than 40 ISI index journals, and served as a reviewer for more than 15 conferences. I served as a track chair and TPC member for IEEE CloudCom 2019, and also served as a session chair for IEEE ICC in more than 8 journal articles, which have a total impact factor of 15.88. And I also served as a guest reviewer for 3 books. Served as I received the top tier reviewer award in computer science, engineering, and crossfield. Like these are 3 different fields by Clarivate Web of Science in 2019. And previously, I received top tier reviewer award in computer science from Clarivate Web of Science in 2018. So apart from this, 3 of my articles are ranked as highly cited papers. I'll discuss all these terminologies while I'll move forward. And first of all, I would like to specially thank Mr. Said bin Usman for invitation. And alongside this, I would like to thank Dr. Mubashir Rahmani. He's not here, he's not attending today, but he helped me a lot, in the preparation of today's discussion. And I would say, majority of the discussion that I'll be delivering today was the result of the efforts of Dr. Mubashir Rahmani, which he did on me. Now let's move towards the discussion. For example, as a researcher, whenever we are going to talk about research, or currently we are dealing with a global pandemic, and now there are vaccines for these COVID-19. And as a researcher, if we want to know about the vaccines, we should not go to news channels, we should not ask TV reporters or any other media personnel that whether the vaccine is effective or not. As a researcher, what we should do, we should go to the papers, we should go to the research articles, we should go to the research venues where the articles about these vaccines are published. For example, if you want to know more about the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, the paper of this Pfizer vaccine got published in the Nature journal. and this Nature journal has an impact factor of 49.962. So if you want to study about how they conducted the clinical trials, how they conducted all these things, instead of asking the news channels or instead of asking any other person, any other irrelevant person, as a researcher, we should go to their like the website, the page. I'll also provide these slides to Said bin Usman, and he can share them with you afterwards. So we need to go to the specific link of the article which got published, and we should study the article over there and to see what sort of effects this vaccine is going to have, and what are the effectiveness of these vaccines. Similarly, if you want to study about AstraZeneca vaccine, the article related to this AstraZeneca vaccine, like the inventors of these vaccine, the article got published in the Lancet journal. The Lancet journal has an impact factor of 79.32. Like, this is very high impact factor. So as a researcher, we should not be going to some non-credible sources. So we should always be going to these credible sources. And what are now the question arises, like what is the body who manages all these things? Like when we say that these journals are indexed by Clarivate Web of Science, so what exactly is the body who is going to manage, or who manages all these things? So these are the two articles. Let's say you can see the first one got published in the Nature journal, and the second one got published in the Lancet journal. So what are the actual questions to ask? The first question that we should ask ourselves or our mentors, that or we should investigate upon, that who actually manages and regulate all the scientific research around the globe. So just for the sake of example, as we discussed the COVID vaccine, so nobody can like publish anything randomly that I invented this vaccine. It has to go through a complete peer review process, and once it will go through the complete peer review process, then it can get published. So the question is, like, who is going to manage and regulate all these things? Like, who is going to manage and regulate the peer review process, and how the scientific experiments are conducted? Like, somebody has conducted a scientific experiment, and how these experiments can be verified and then afterwards published. So this is the second question that we should be asking. The third thing is, like, we should know about the major branches of sciences, like whether we are dealing with computer science or we are dealing with electrical or any other specific thing. So we should know about these branches of sciences. Then we should know about what is a journal article, what is a conference article, what is a magazine article. Are they different? Are the same? What is the basics behind them? Then we should know that what exactly is the impact factor. Like we always think and like listen about these things, that journal has a specific impact factor, and a specific journal impact factor has got raised and all these things. So what exactly is an impact factor? Then we should know the role of Clarivate Web of Science, then how we can identify some top ranked journals, and then how we can identify some top ranked or quality journals. And then the answer to all these questions will give us the answer how to publish in high quality scientific journals. So these are the things we should be asking from ourselves. And in this talk, I'll be discussing about these things, and then at the end I'll discuss the major question. So if there's any question from you participant, you can ask at the end of the slides. So let's first talk about Clarivate Analytics. Clarivate is basically a leading company, or you can say, previously it was the property of Thomson Reuters. It is the you can say leading industry, you can say a company that manages all these research around the globe. Like, it manages all the works that has been carried out, that is being carried out in the research field. So it has multiple subdisciplines. For example, the Web of Science. Web of Science is one of the subdiscipline of Clarivate, which basically organizes all the research in academia, industry, and corporations, and like manages all these things. Then it also has Publons. Publons is basically used to trace and verify the peer reviews and the editorial contribution. For example, if you do a review for a journal, you can send them. You can first, you have to make the Publons profile, and then you have to send the confirmation email, or you can say the thank you email to the specific email of Publons, and the review will be added on your Publons website. So this is one of the way you can show your effectiveness to the research community, that you are actively conducting the review process for the journals. Then there's Scholar One. Scholar One is also managed by Clarivate. It whenever like we submit our research paper to some journal, we normally do it via Scholar One. Then there's JCR. JCR is Journal Citation Report, which basically issues impact factor to the journals, which we'll discuss later on. Then there's ESI. ESI is Essential Science Indicators. Like it basically reveals the emerging trends, scientific trends, like what trends are going to emerge in the future. So we need to keep a track of these trends. For example, like if you see the trends previously, there were trends like people started working over cognitive radio networks, then they moved to smart grid, then they moved to cognitive radio based smart grid. Like these are all the trends. So ESI basically reveals all these trends, that in which direction scientific community is moving, and what will be the direction in the next 5 or 10 years. So ESI is the basically indicators. And then there's HCR, highly cited researcher, who are the researchers who are in top 1% of their domain. Like this list is announced annually. The people who come, who are selected as a highly cited researcher are basically top 1%. They have a complete criteria of selection. And then it also gives a list of citation laureates, like who are the people who are going to win the Nobel Prize likely in the next year, in the upcoming years. So all these things, if you combine all these things, Clarivate Analytics is the body who is managing all these things. So this is a very big body which basically you can say manages all the research which is being carried out in around the globe, like wherever, whether it's in Australia, whether it's in Bangladesh, or it's in USA or anywhere. So this body is managing all the research work. So whenever we have to talk about research, it should be from the pathway of Clarivate. So if some journal is indexed by Clarivate, then that will have more worth as compared to any other indexing body. I'll discuss these things afterwards. Then move to the Journal Citation Report. Journal Citation Report is basically a report which is published by Clarivate and named as JCR. We also see it as Clarivate JCR, Clarivate Journal Citation Report, where the impact factors are assigned to each journal. For example, impact factor, it starts from the highest journal to the lowest journal, and it basically manages. Currently there are more than 12,000, or to be more precise, around 12,500 journals which have received impact factor in the JCR report of in the last year. So this body basically announces, or you can say verifies, all the journals, the quality work which is being published in these journals, and then assigns impact factor to them. So you can say this study all the scientific trends being carried out in these journals. For example, if a journal name itself as a telecommunication journal, and it does not publishes works related to telecommunication, it will identify that you're not falling in this category. Similarly, like there are a lot of parameters which are being considered in these things. Then it also monitors or regulates the behavior of the journal. For example, if some journal is conducting some malicious activity, is conducting some adversarial activity, then they identify these journals such as prospectively predatory journal. Like if there's some abnormal citation activity, for example, some journal they try to cite their own articles on more regular basis, like it has been identified by certain practices in JCR and by Clarivate. So if there are some abnormal citation practices, they will remove the impact factor of their journals, and a lot of journals get their impact factor removed every year by the JCR when they get identified that they're not following the legal practices. So this is about the JCR. Then there's citation. So what exactly is a citation? Citation is a reference to a published or unpublished work. For example, your article gets published in IEEE Transaction Services Computing. So when someone from some other like someone in the world studies your article and say that, or try to modify your article, or try to get a insight from your article, then they decide your work in their work, which can be published in future in some other venue. So this basically, the citation or reference of someone's work is known as a citation. So citation can be referenced as like how well your work is performing, how well your published work is how good your work is. Citations are also used to attract funding. It is also used to show the visibility and recognition of work. But there's a difference. There's a difference between a genuine citation and excessive self-citation. I'm not saying that self-citation is a bad thing, but you can identify from the practices of the researchers. You'll find out some people, they are doing excessive self-citation. And if you see their profile on their profile on Web of Science, you will see that 50% of their citation that they have received are from the self-citation. So these citations are not counted when you are being selected as a for some award from Web of Science. So as we earlier discussed, that Web of Science is going to monitor all these things. And if someone does excessive number of self-citations, then there's no use. There is a practice that is followed by some researchers, not all, I would say hardly 4 to 5% or even less than that, that they try to do excessive self-citation, which we should not follow. This citation is like, it is a complete branch of science. Like it falls under the category of library and information sciences, and people even do PhDs over this thing, like what is the best way to get information from the citation, what are the ways we can extract useful information from the citation, how to figure out that which researcher is good on the basis of citation. So this is a complete field in even for a PhD, you can say, library and information sciences. And this falls under the bibliometrics. Then there are highly cited paper and hot papers. Highly cited papers are basically the papers which receive top 1% citations in their respective discipline on their respective field. It can be like interdisciplinary as well, but the article should fall in that specific category if it's going to be interdisciplinary. So top 1% means, let's say there are 1000 articles which got published in computer science, artificial intelligence, like this specific field. And then the among the top among these 1000 articles which have received some citations, the 10 articles, like top 10 articles which must have received the highest citations among all of these articles, they will be ranked as highly cited paper. So having at even one paper of your from your research work as a highly cited paper is an honor for any researcher. And the people who basically get selected as a highly cited researcher, they have a lot of highly cited papers in their profile. So I'm not saying that of those highly cited paper get selected as a hot paper. So it's 0.01. So among these 1000 articles that I earlier gave example of, among these 1000 articles, if your article receives an adequate amount of citations within the first 2 years of publication, then still there are chances, not 100%, then still there are chances that your article can get selected as a hot paper, which is basically 1 out of 1000 articles. So like 0.01%. So uh, your article will only get selected as a hot paper if you are doing some very credible and some very core contribution. So moving further to the impact factor, as I previously discussed that the JCR Journal Citation Report issues impact factor to the journals. So what exactly is an impact factor? Impact factor is, you can say, a measure of, or you can say a reputation of a journal, which is issued annually, and it basically shows the reputation of that specific journal in the scientific community, that how well reputed a journal is. It's not the only measure. I'm not saying that it is the only measure that you should only judge a journal on the basis of its impact factor, but it is one of the most substantial measure that is being used in the community. So impact factor is basically measured on the basis of number of citations that a journal has received in the recent years. I'll share the formula afterwards, that how we should be how Clarivate Analytics calculates the impact factor. Then this is just one of the example. If you want to check on the Web of Science, you can just write the journal article, and it will give you information that which category it falls in. For example, this article, journal IEEE Communication Surveys and Tutorial, it falls under the category of telecommunications, and it also falls under the category of information sciences. Then you'll know about like its publisher and all these things, and how many issues it publishes each year. Issues are like number of periodicals it publishes each year. And if you want to see the impact factor, on the left side of the screen, you will be able to see that it has received an impact factor of 25.249. Like till in this year, it has an impact factor of 25.249. If you see the previous year trends, you will see a gradual increase. Last year, its impact factor was 23.7, now it's 25.249. And the formula for calculation of impact factor is like the number of citations. Like if you want to calculate the impact factor of 2020, so the number of articles which got published in 2018 and the articles which got published in 2019 is divided by the article number of the citations the article got in 2018 and 2019 is divided by total number of articles published in these years. So it's not like if a journal has received a lot of citations from the previous works, it's not going to impact the impact factor of that journal. So it's only from the last 2 years, like from 2018 to and 2019, and the articles got published in these years. So communication service only publishes, like it is a very prestigious journal with a very high impact factor. It only publishes 120 to 125 articles per year. Like it only has 4 issues, and its articles which gets published in these years receive a tremendous amount of citations because of the quality of the journal. That's why it has a very high impact factor. Otherwise, if you see the total number of citations, like the total number of citations that the journal received in 2020 are 22,000. So if they start calculating the impact factor on the basis of complete citations, like all the citations which has been received in that particular year, then the impact factor will be very different. But this is not the criteria. Criteria is the citations in 2018 and 2019, and the number of articles in 2018 and 2019. So that's how an impact factor of a journal is you can say calculated. So if some specific journal is publishing a lot of articles, like you will even see some journals which are publishing more than, so if a journal is publishing this much number of articles every year, then their impact factor will definitely reduce if they are not getting a specific amount of citations. Like there are journals which publishes like which gets a lot of citations, and but on the other hand they publish thousands of articles, so they have a very low impact factor comparatively. So moving towards the Q ranking, as I discussed earlier, that Q rank not we Clarivate Analytics rank all these journals on the basis of their impact factor. For example, the highest the impact factor is, the highest that journal would be. So if you just for the sake of example, you say that there are 100 journals in total. So the first 25 will be in Q1 ranking. So you can say they divided all the journals into 4 quarters. The first quarter is Q1 uh, on the basis of impact factor. Then the second quarter is Q2, the third one is Q3, and the last one is Q4. So the Q1 definitely they are the most prestigious journals. The Q2 is fine. We can publish in them, but we should try to avoid publishing in Q4 journals. They are the lowest ones among them. So it basically depends upon the impact factor. The Q ranking of the journal depends upon the impact factor. There are a lot of bodies that keep on publishing Q ranking of their own. Like there's a lot of, but we should not rely upon their Q ranking. The Q ranking we should consider should be from Clarivate Analytics or the JCR. So this is the credible Q ranking. If you just Google the Q ranking, you will find a lot of websites giving Q ranking of their own. That is not credible. So if you search from predatory website, they even mention their journal as Q1, Q2, and they even highlight their impact factor randomly. So, but if you will submit these values to for any, let's say, scholarship or for any research funding, they will simply reject your claim that this journal is not Q1 ranked according to the Clarivate analytics. So make sure whenever you are saying a specific journal is ranked as Q1, Q2, Q3, it should be according to the JCR or the Clarivate analytics report. So this is a bit more detailed formula for the Q ranking. Like they calculate the percentile rank for the specific journal, and then they see the percentile rank, that which category it falls. Then you can see the formula for like Q1, Q2, Q3. So the data differs accordingly. So there's even a slight point of change can change the rank of the journal. So we should always encourage ourselves and keep on publishing in the Q1 rank journal rather than Q2, Q3, Q4. I'm not saying that publishing in Q2 or Q3 is a bad practice, but it's not encouraged. Then this is the list of journals from on the basis of impact factor. So you can see the highest impact factor that we have till now is from like a CA Cancer Journal, which has an impact factor of 508. So this is the highest one for this year. Then afterwards, you can see a lot of difference. Like it's the second last column. The second highest impact factor is 94. Then there's 91, then there's 84, and then there's Lancet journal, which I discussed earlier about the COVID vaccine, which has an impact factor of 79. Then moving further, these are the top, I guess, 12 or 15 journals. You can see that there's not even a single journal from computer science or not even a single journal in the field of telecommunication engineering. So these are the top journals which are leading the research. So the computer science research or the engineering, electrical engineering research, that's only a very low fraction, and there's a lot of other research which is being carried out in around the globe now. So um, the CS or electrical, that's just a minor fraction. Then moving further to the scientific publisher, because I'm from the CS and electrical engineering field, I'll discuss about the publishers. The top one is IEEE, then there's Elsewhere, then there's Springer, ACM, Wiley, IT, Taylor and Francis. The top ones are the better ones. Then it keeps on moving gradually. Uh, let's talk about these publisher in a bit more detail. For example, IEEE only has around 200 journals. Like it does not have a lot of journals. It only has around 200 journals, but just these 200 journals publishes around 30% of the literature in electrical engineering, electronics, and computer science. So you can see the impact by the IEEE. Like they publishes around 30% of the literature with just these 200 journals. Contrary to this, if you see Elsewhere, it has got 2,500 journals. So 200 and 2,500, you can see a comparison. But still, IEEE is leading if you are in that specific field. Elsewhere definitely has a lot of good journals in the field of nanotechnology. It has a lot of good journals in the field of medical research and all other things. Then there is ACM. ACM has around 50 journals. Some of their journals are leading, let's say, ACM Computing Service. Then the Wiley has 1400 journals. So you can see a comparison around them. There's 200 journals and then 1400 journals, and these 200 journals are leading. So there'll be a reason for that. Then if you see a bit more into detail, um, if you pick the top 25 journals in the field of telecommunications by impact factor, IEEE has 17 of these 25 journals. Like among the top 25 journals on the basis of impact factor, 17 of the journals belong to the under the umbrella of IEEE. Then if you pick the top 25 journals in electrical and electronics engineering, then you will find out then among these 25, 20 journals are from IEEE. So you can see how they are leading in this specific field. Then in computer science, you will see various trends, but still the first journal, highest ranked journal, is still from IEEE Transaction Pattern Analysis and Machine Intelligence. The fourth journal is also in from IEEE Transaction on Fuzzy Systems. Then fifth one is also IEEE Transaction on Evolutionary Computing. You can check these lists yourself as well on Web of Science website, and they have like majority of them are you'll find from IEEE and some other the venues that I've discussed over here from IEEE, Elsewhere, Springer, ACM, Wiley, IIT, and Taylor and Francis. Then these are the list of journals in computer science and AI. Like if you are in the specific field of AI, artificial intelligence, then these are the journals that you should be targeting. Then definitely there are other Q1 journals as well. These are some of the top journals. The first one is that I discussed earlier, have an impact factor of 16.3. Then there is the next journal, Nature Machine Intelligence, 15.508. Critical thing about Nature is uh, if you want to publish in Nature portfolio, you need to make sure that your work is easily reproducible. Like if you did a very good work and it's not reproducible by the research community, there are very less chances your article will get published. So these are all the journals in the field of computer science AI. Then these are the journals in the field of telecommunication. You can see the highest one with the highest impact factor is IEEE Communication Service and Tutorials. So these are the journals that IEEE vouch upon. You can see in the telecommunications field, like all IEEE Wireless Communication, IEEE Network, IEEE Nuclear Technology Magazine, Communications Magazine, IoT Journal, and until IEEE Transaction on Emerging Topics in Computing, there's IEEE. Then there's a few journals which are not from IEEE. Then there's again a pattern of IEEE start. So these are all the journals that we should be targeting if we are working in the field of telecommunication or these similar things. These are the journals from the perspective of electrical and electronics engineering. So Nature Electronics is the highest one, definitely. If you are dealing with electronics, this is the highest one with a 33 impact factor. Then there's certain other, there's a possibility that one journal can fall into more than one category. As I discussed in the first one, that IEEE Communication Service falls in the telecommunication field, and it also falls under the information sciences field as well. Then these are the journals from software engineering perspective. The highest one is transaction services computing. So if you are some novel algorithm that falls under the category of algorithm development and software and all these things, these are the journals to target, like transaction services computing, transaction on TDSC, and all these journals. So the highest one in the highest impact factor in this category is 8.216. But on the other hand, you can see all these journals have a Q1 ranking. The Q1 ranking is basically because they fall under the first quarter of the complete list. Then these are some of the interdisciplinary journals, like they cover different aspects of computer science. The first one is Nature Machine Intelligence. This also falls under in the previous category as well. Then there's like computer aided civil and infrastructure engineering. Then there's transaction on digital informatics. If you see just the articles published in TII, transactions on industrial informatics, you will see there's a lot of different fields which are gathering in this specific transaction, and they are publishing their work over there. Similarly, transaction medical imaging is also publishing the work from medical category. It is also publishing the work from the clinical perspective. It's also publishing the work from the computer science perspective. So this falls under the interdisciplinary category. So these are the journals we should be targeting if we want to get our work recognized in the international level. Now let's move towards the discussion of what exactly can be published and what are the different types of scientific contributions that we can do. The first ones are patents, then there comes the research articles, then there comes the books or the book chapter. Patents include the design patent, utility patent, and all these things. I'll discuss these things in the next slide in detail. Let's first start from the research articles, which I also call like majority of my discussion is from the perspective of journal articles. So the research articles which are published in journals can be categorized into four specific categories. One are magazine articles, which are normally visionary articles, some project based article. For example, if you do some specific project or your final year project in your bachelor's, in your master's, and it has got a project element in them, then you can think of publishing them into some good magazine of IEEE. Like there's IEEE IT Professional, and then there's IEEE Computers Magazine. So you can think of publishing in these venues. So and apart from this, if you get some visionary idea, like you can say that I think that integrating AI in a specific field of medicine will give a very good result, and you started working over that field and you get some good results initially. Like you have not developed some core contribution, but you have got some good results initially, and you say that you want to disseminate this knowledge to others so that others will also start working on the specific field. Then you can write a magazine article for that. Then there are transaction articles. Transaction articles are basically the ones which are used to publish the core technical contribution. Like if your technical work does not have significant technical contribution, there is very less chances that it will get accepted for any good transaction. Like nowadays, a lot of low rank journal also started naming themselves as transactions. So it's not the category. If we are going to say that our work got published in some transaction, it should be from the top Q1 ranking, at least top Q1 or top Q2, from these reputable publishers, from the IEEE, from elsewhere, from some ACM. Like it should be from these publisher. This is definitely for the CS and electrical engineering and other engineering fields. It can vary from others, but currently talking about the journal articles, in our field, transactions publishes the core technical contribution. Then there are letters. Letters also have a lot of worth. We normally don't consider publishing in letters. That's a strange thing that I have observed in the community. But letters basically publish some short technical articles with 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 a strong contribution. Like letters only comprise of 4 pages, but these 4 pages will give you a complete insight about a novel research that has been carried out. So it's not like you can publish some idea in these 4 pages. It's not like that. So if you have done some good quality research, then you can publish in the letters. IEEE has some very good letters with a very high impact factor as well. Then there are like some normal journal articles, like you can from normal journal, for example, like IEEE Vehicular Technology Magazine. Oh, sorry, not this one. IEEE IoT Journal, or IEEE like the other journal, IEEE Systems Journals, and elsewhere Future Generation Computer Systems, and a lot of other JPDC and all these journals. So you can publish your survey work, you can publish your visionary articles, you can publish your technical articles, but make sure whenever you are going to select any journal, it should be selected according to the ranking, according to the impact factor, and according to the Q ranking by the Clarivate Analytics, not from any other random Q ranking. So then there comes the scientific patent. Normally at bachelor's level or master's level, we normally do not deal with scientific patents, but these are like, these can be categorized into three different things. One is the design patent. Design patent, like if you create some original design, for example, like you design some specific building design for the building, for furniture or something specific. So this is the design patent. Then there's utility patent, like if you carry out some specific invention. We usually deal in engineering with the utility patents, like we designed a machine learning algorithm, or we developed some novel category of radio for the communication. So we can work for the utility patents. Then there are plant patents, which are related to biology and plant related inventions. So if you want to register yourself a patent, like there's a complete process for that afterwards. And if anyone wants to use your patent afterwards, they will pay you royalties for these. Then there are some other research articles, for example, like some which are published in conferences. Like if you want to publish your technical work for the timely dissemination in some conference, and then you want to extend that work for a journal article, then you can think of publishing in some conference. But again, if you want to publish in some conference, you need to make sure that it is ranked properly. Like you should not be publishing your work in some bogus or low ranked conferences just for the sake of the publication. It will give a very bad impact. For example, if you contact some foreign supervisor to supervise you, and you have, let's say, 10 or 12 articles in some local or some bogus conferences, then instead of appreciating this work, he's going to reject your profile just on the basis that your basics are not developed properly, and you just consider publishing in these venues as a research, which is basically not the research. So if you want to target some conference and want to publish your work in some conference, then you need to make sure that it's a good ranked conference. How you can check the ranking of the conference, it depends upon the field. But let's say in computer science, you can check the core ranking, like core ranking, core.edu.au. There's a core ranking for this, and try to publish in A ranked conferences, A star ranked conferences, and or at least B star ranked conferences, not lower than that. Then there are some works which are published as posters, like these are the short posters in the conferences. Then there are technical reports, which are, let's say, your project report or your thesis report for your bachelor's, master's, or PhD. So these are the technical reports which can be get published. Then there are books. Books can be categorized into three specific categories. One are authored books, like where the authors or the author, just one or three authors, two or three authors, depending upon, they write the complete book themselves. Like they do not rely upon external candidates to write the book. They write the book themselves. Then there's edited book. Edited book is basically an editor which manages, like which says that I want to write a book on a specific thing. For example, like blockchain based communication. They say that I want to write a book on blockchain based communication, and the editor gives a call for papers to all other peers, that if anyone wants to contribute their work, their book chapter in my book, they can give them up to me. And after the peer review process, it's not like you can publish anything in the book. After a proper peer review process, your article can get selected in the book. Then there's book chapter. Book chapter are basically the technical works. There's a chat. Okay, so the last one is the book chapter. Book chapter are basically, as I discussed, the editors. Editors basically invite authors to write their book chapter in their edited book. So this is how the complete formation of the books are managed accordingly. Sorry. Then moving on to the type of research paper. Again, I'll be focusing more over the journal works. There are technical works. Technical works are the works where you publish some technical contribution. For example, you say you developed a novel algorithm for efficient detection of cancer in the medical images. Then this is a technical contribution. You can publish that work as a technical work. Then there's survey work, survey papers. Survey papers are the ones where you carry out an in-depth survey of all the previous technical contributions that has been carried on that specific problem so far. So people normally think that writing survey is a very easy thing, that you can just gather the information and publish it, gather the information and say that these works have been published. But if you are going to write a survey article and you want to get that article published in some considerable venue, specifically some venue that purely focuses over surveys, for example, like IEEE Communication Surveys and Tutorial, or ACM Computing Surveys, or some other survey journals, or some good ranked journals. So if you want to publish your survey work in these venues, your article needs to have some visionary idea. It's not just the summarization of all the previous work. It should have some visionary idea, and it should also highlight the challenges and future directions. So writing a survey some people consider that writing a survey is very easy, but it's not easy as it seems. So especially if you want to publish in the reputed venues. Then there are transaction articles. The transaction articles are the core contribution, pure technical contribution, which you can publish in the top venues. Like if you cannot even compare a transaction impact factor of a transaction with some other you can say some other journal. For example, like IEEE IoT journal has an impact factor of, I guess, around 9. But in other IEEE transaction, let's say transaction on TDSC, transaction dependable services computing, has an impact factor of, I guess, 7, around 7. So you cannot say that the IoT journal has a higher rank than this transaction, because transactions only publishes the core technical work. And if you get just one paper accepted in any transaction of let's say IEEE, or even for some transaction of ACM, so as a part of your PhD degree, it's considered a very big achievement. So just one transaction article can award you a PhD degree. So you can know now you can see the you can say the worth of a transaction article. Then there are some other types of articles which are like which include the magazine article I have discussed earlier, magazine article. Then there are technical reports and letters and all these things. So these are some type of research papers. Then the question arises, why we should publish research papers, and what is the reason and what is the need we should be publishing the research papers. The first one is like, if we want to work in the research and development sector of the industry, then publishing research paper is the major thing. If you see the top research being done by the industries, you will find out Facebook is doing Facebook is contributing a lot in the research. Then you will find out Microsoft, then AWS, like Amazon Web Services, and a lot of industries. Like if you want to make a progress on, if you want to go into these industries as an R&D candidate, you need to have a very good research profile. So if you don't have a very good research profile, if you don't have publication in the top tier journals, top ranked journals, and top ranked conferences, then it is very hard to get into these positions as an R&D candidate. You definitely can get a position as a software engineer or some other venue, but if you want to get the highest paid positions as an R&D, then you need to publish your work in the reputed venues. Then to get promotion to professor, like if you are working in some university as a lecturer or as an assistant professor or associate professor, and you want to get promoted year by year, then publishing is one of the key things. Even you must have seen people who are in the industry, they try to go to the research based degrees afterward. Like let's say they join the industry after getting their masters, and then they start doing their PhD in the meanwhile, like in the part time. So because the promotion normally depends upon these factors as well. Then if you want to attract funding from the sources, there are like millions of dollars of funding around the globe that industries and the people, the personals they want to give to the concerning people. But if you want to attract the fundings, you need to show that you have a significant research profile. Then if you want to get recognized in the scientific community, you need to have some good research profile. Then if you want to disseminate your knowledge, you need to publish your work in the reputed sources. Then apart from this, if you want to supervise masters and PhD students, definitely you need to have a PhD degree and you need to have some strong research profile. That's how you'll be able to supervise these students. And if you want to invent something, like if you want to invent some new thing, then you need to show this invention to the community, to the researchers around the globe, that the only way is the major way is to publish your work in some reputed venue. It will increase the worth of your work. Then if you want to research and discover, and then that's why we publish. Then whenever we talk about the publishing, we cannot ignore the aspect of a peer review. Peer review process is basically designed to assess the validity, quality, and originality of your work or the publication that you submit. For example, like you submit any random thing to sorry, give me a minute. Like if you want to if you submit any random thing to let's say IEEE transaction or any other journal, they will just reject your work straight away, because there's a complete peer review process which is carried out by these journals to ensure that they only publish good quality work, not the poor quality work. So whenever you are submitting in any good journal, they will your paper will go through a complete peer review process. And the most common types of peer reviews that are conducted in our community are the single blinded and the double blinded peer review. Single blinded peer reviews are the ones which is a conventional method that we normally follow, that the reviewers do know that who are the author of this article, but the authors do not know who is reviewing their work. And the double blind peer review is the one that where neither the authors nor the reviewers know each other's names or affiliation. Like you don't know the person whom article you are going to review. So these are different types of peer review processes, and peer review process is used to ensure that the quality of the work that gets published is good, is according to that specific journal. Then there are different ways of publishing in the scientific journals. One is the open access journal. Like we normally hear about a lot of open access journal which are open to all. So this is one of the way. They charge a huge amount of money if you want to publish your work over there. They have a quick reviewing process, but there are a lot of issues associated with these open access journals. There's some typo in the slides. So like issues related with these open access journals, like there's multiple opinion in the research community, on the basis, because they have a very quick review process. They know usually not all the journals, there are very good open access journals as well, but sometimes they compromise on the quality of work because the reviewers have to submit their work within a specific time frame. Like they have to review within, let's say, 7 days or 5 days, and sometimes even the journals respond in like 20 days. So because they have a very quick review process, there are studies that have been conducted on the publishers which are just publishing in open access, and things have been highlighted that their review process normally comprise on the quality. Then if you see, especially in computer science or in electrical engineering, in these fields, none of the open access journal is top ranked. Like you will find some in Q1 rank, but none of them falls in, like, let's say, on top 10 or top 15. So these journals are not top ranked because they are not regarded well by the society, by the research society. Clarivate has identified a lot of open access journals as predatory journal or the prospective predatory journals on the basis of bad research practices that are being opted. One of the practices like they keep on increasing their self citations to get a high impact factor, and then they keep on publishing you can say uh, research papers so that their citations gets increases, they get good impact factor, and then they also get a lot of APC, article processing charges. I'm not totally against the open access journals. I'm not saying that if someone publishes an open access journal is doing a bad practice, but it is not recommended. Or if let's say you will ask me, then I'll never recommend publishing in these journals. Then there the other one, subscription based journals. They have got a very like limited access. Only the subscribers can access these articles. Normally you access via your university account, your institute account. So only sorry only the subscribers can access these articles, and they do not charge a single penny. For example, like if you publish your work in IEEE communication surveys and tutorial, this is a subscription based journal, and they will not charge even a single penny from you to publish their work. But similarly, if you publish your work in IEEE transaction services computing or IEEE transaction pattern analysis or any other reputed top ranked journal, they will not even charge a single penny from you. But the condition is that your work should be credible enough. Then there's some issues related with the subscription based journals, like they have got a very long review process. Sometimes it can even take 5 to 6 months for the first review, but that is the part of the process. So one should not say that I don't like publishing in subscription based journals because they have a long review process, but that is the credible way. That is how your work can be reviewed. They have a very strict review process as well, because they ensure that only the quality work gets published over there. Their exceptions are always there. Sometimes you can see some low quality work gets published in some good venue. Exceptions are always there, but if you see the majority of the things, you'll figure out that majority of the journals are publishing very good work. Then some tips for the publishing in top ranked venues. The first is like my previous supervisor, Dr. Bashir Rahmani, they usually say that there's a thing called GIGO, like garbage in, garbage out. So like we have first in, first out, last in, first out. So there's garbage in, garbage out. Like if you take input as garbage, your output will also be garbage. So if you want to make a good output to the research community, we want to make sure that we read the papers from top ranked journal. Like if we keep on reading the papers from some bogus journals, bogus conferences, low ranked journals, and then our output will also be garbage. But if we will start reading the papers from good venues, let's say if you want to study a survey paper, we should only be studying from IEEE communication surveys, ACM computing surveys, IEEE IoT journal, or some IEEE JSEC, and like some top venues. If we are reading from the top venues, then we are basically training our mind to adopt our way of research according to these top venues. We are understanding their methodology. But if we keep on reading from some low ranked venues, then we are just training ourselves to the garbage, and our output will still be the garbage. So then what you should be doing, you should make a list of top ranked journals that falls in your field of research, and then shortlist few of them. Let's say you made a list of journals that are top 50 journals, and then you shortlist 10 or 20 among them, and try studying the works which these journals are publishing for your field. For example, if you are working in smart grid, try to figure out the works that are being published in IEEE Transaction Smart Grid, and see what type of problem they are identifying, what are the major focus they are doing, on which specific thing they are focusing while identification of problem. Like what exactly is the thing they call a problem? Is that some specific novel algorithm that they use to solve this specific problem? So you need to make sure that what exactly is the problem they are targeting. Then you need to identify the type and level of contribution which are being published in these venues. Like what exactly is the level of contribution, like how much work they do before publishing in these top venues. For example, like in IEEE transitional pattern analysis, you need to see what are the top works in machine learning they do before publishing in this specific venue. Then you need to match your technical details of your works with their work. So you need to match that, okay, does my work is equal to the works which are being published in this specific transaction or not? If yes, then you should be moving further to the submission to that specific transaction. Otherwise, if you feel that your work is not credible and you are just submitting as a chance, there are very high chances that your work will not get accepted even in the first review. Like you will not even receive a major revision, you will receive a direct reject, and after 4 to 5 months. So make sure your work matches the technical details of the specific journal you are going to submit. Then an important thing is quality is, as the Dr. Asim also mentioned, that the quality is far more important than the quantity. So we should make sure that the work we are doing is a quality work. I can see the majority of the participants are, whether like, I guess they are doing their bachelor's or they are doing their master's. So they must be targeting some foreign fundings in the future from some reputed universities, reputed labs, and all these things. So if you do not publish the quality work and you just run behind the quantity of the papers, there are very less likely chances that some top researcher will select you, because they do not work for the number of articles, they work for the quality of the article. So whenever, similarly, if you are going to collaborate with someone, uh, choose your co-authors carefully. There are a lot of, you can say, researchers whom, even if you send the complete article that that this article, I have written this article, I want you to be a part of this article, they will not be a part of your article, because they don't care about the journals, or they don't care about the number of papers anymore. All they care about is like their quality work, like whether your work has got some quality and they can refine it up. If they can refine the article, they will still think on the basis of your top co-authors. For example, if you are publishing with some not good, some bad person regularly, and you have written a very good article, and you start contacting some top researcher of your field and say that you want to do a collaboration, they will not collaborate, because they will see that you are publishing with this bad person, and you are regularly publishing with this person. So they will say that no, we don't want to be a part of your this specific aspect of yours, this specific article of yours. So make sure to choose your co-authors carefully. Then you need to follow the ethical practices for collaboration. For example, one of the unethical practice that we normally see around, that people try to add the names of one another when they have not done any contribution in the work, when they have not done any of the contribution, and they just study the grammar, revise the grammatical mistakes, and they just do some random things, let's say revising a figure and all that. So they have not done any scientific contribution in the actual technical contribution, in the technical work. Still, it's not an ethical practice to add someone's name just for the sake of having the name of your fellow, your friend, your colleague, or your departmental head. Or it's not an ethical practice if some person has not done a substantial amount of contribution in the specific work. Then another tip is like, you should adopt your style according to the journal requirement. Like make sure the journal you are going to target, you need to write your article according to that specific journal. Like some journals, they ask for case studies, they ask for some specific type of practical implementation, they ask for test-based implementation. So you need to make sure that journal you are targeting, your work should be aligned to that journal. Then for the students, you should, and for us as well, definitely, we should continuously see the technological trends in the field. For example, like IEEE Communication Society regularly publishes the technological trends. IEEE Communication Society publishes, and see the where the research is heading, and try to align your current research work. Like try to align your current research work according to these technological trends. So these are some of the tips. Then there's some journal tips, like whenever you are going to write any article, whether it's survey, technical work, magazine work, or any other work, you need to make sure that what is the scope of that specific article. Like, is it appropriate for the publication, the journal you are targeting? Does it falls under the scope of that specific journal or the publisher? And then I'll just check the chat. Okay, so we need to make sure that it falls under the scope of that specific publication. And then we need to check the novelty, that whether our work is original and distinct from the past works. Like, if we are just doing some work that has been done before with a slightly different name, it's not novel. And if you submit this work to any reputed journal, they will reject your article. So make sure that your work is novel. Then you need to make sure that the data you are using is reported, analyzed, and interpreted correctly. This usually falls under the some of the article which uses extensive amount of data. For example, like if you are using a machine learning based model, you need to make sure that the data you are using is good enough for the experiment. Then you need to talk about the validity, that is the experiment and the execution of the work or the study is well designed or not. Then the clarity, like if you are writing an article and you are not giving a clear perception to the reader, to the reviewer, there are very less likely chances that your article will get accepted. So make sure your article gives a clear motive that I'm going to solve this specific problem. Then there are compliance, like all the ethical requirements, whether they are related to the usage of data sets or any other ethical requirement. You should make sure that you meet all these requirements. Then some of your do's and don'ts of the research papers, some do's are like, you need to ensure that you publish in the reputed journals and conferences. This keep this thing with you throughout your life, that always focus on the reputed journals and reputed conferences, because if you want to make your way ahead in the research, this is the only key to success. If you focus or publish in some low ranked venues, low ranked journals, you definitely, yes, Dr. Asim mentioned that you might will get some positions, but in the long run, they are not going to help you out. So for the journals, one of the credible things is impact factor. It's not the only thing. There are certain other things as well, but the most important thing that you need to look is the impact factor and the Q ranking that I discussed earlier. And for the conferences, make sure to check the core ranking if it falls under the computer science domain. Then the quality is more important, and then the quantity, as I discussed earlier. Then always give your 100% in research, and only publish when you think that this is the best you can do. This is the best quality work. This is the best work that can be done in this specific field. So if you are not 100% sure, make it 100% and then try to publish. Then do not just publish for the sake of publication. Like, do not increase the number of papers, do not just publish that you for the sake of publication. Try to look for the contributions that you are going to do to the scientific society. And if you have this specific aim, you will be able to do some very good contribution. Like, you need to make sure that your contribution aligns with the scientific society. You need to make sure that your contribution aligns with the sustainable and development goals of UN. You can check the goals of 2021 and goals of 2020 by United Nations, and one of that is sustainable and development goals. You can check them up online afterwards, and try to learn the process. The research is a gradual process. Nobody becomes a good researcher in a day or in a month or even any year. So it's a gradual process, or even you can say it's a lifelong process. And rejection is the part of the process. For example, if you submit to some good venue and your article gets rejected, it's never give up. It's just the part of the process. And then some don'ts that you should not be doing you should never ever publish in bogus journals. You will lose your reputation if you regularly publish. Let's say you have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 articles in the bogus journals. You will lose reputation. Let's say if you have 5 articles in a bogus journal and you contact some supervisor for your PhD or for funding, they will never consider your profile because you have articles in a lot of articles in these bogus journals. And never ever publish in low rank journals. Try to avoid publishing in low rank journals. Try to avoid publishing in predatory conferences. There are conferences around the globe which accept anything. Like if you submit any random bogus results, they will even accept. They will not even verify because their major concern is not to publish a quality work. Their major concern is to get the funds from the authors to conduct the conference. So they are basically for the making of money. So never publish in predatory conferences, never publish in predatory journals. Predatory journals are similar to bogus journals, and never publish with the predatory publishers. There's a complete list. Like if you see the link, I'll give these slides afterwards. If you see this link, you will find out there's hundreds of publishers which are over there just for the sake of money. So never publish with these predatory publishers. Do not publish in low rank publisher. There are I have discussed some good publishers in the slides earlier. There are some other low rank publishers as well. I'll not name them because they basically varies from the field to field. So try not to publish in low ranked publisher. I'm not saying it's very bad to publish in them, but it's not a good practice. So you can find out the good publishers of your field. If you see the top researchers, like if you, let's say in telecommunications or in computer science, and this interdisciplinary field or information sciences field, you pick Professor Dusit Nyato. You see which specific journals he's targeting. Then you pick Professor Dina Khatabi. You see which journals or conferences she's targeting. So always publish in good ranked publishers. Try to avoid publishing in open access journals. I'm again not saying that publishing in open access journal is a bad practice, but it's not considered a very good practice, especially for the people who are in the early stage of their career. Like they should, if they want to get good positions, let's say after their PhD, let's say after their masters, or even after their bachelors, they want to get good funding, they get good positions, and they have a good journal article with a good with a subscription based journal. Their chances are very high as compared to open access journals. And the last thing is never ever give up. So keep on trying. So because of the short duration of time, I'll not be discussing about blockchain and smart gate. That's a completely different topic. I'll be happy to discuss them in some other conference and in some other webinar in a more detail. So I'll conclude my discussion and talk today. Thank you so much for invitation. And if there's any question, I'll be happy to answer. And you can even email me afterwards on munibmh1@gmail.com afterwards. So thank you so much. If there's any question, you can ask me up. So there are a lot of questions. I'm just going through the chat. Uh, if anyone wants to ask a question directly, they can ask. If it's not clear till now, otherwise I'll go through the chat and I'll answer them one by one.
Sir, there are some questions for you in the chat box. The first question from Farah Sadia. What's the difference between open access and closed access? Sorry, I'm not hearing you. Please unmute your speaker.
Yeah, so my microphone was muted. Sorry for that, and it was like not allowed by the host. So yeah, okay. So the first question, difference between open access and closed access journals. I guess I've discussed a lot. The difference, major difference is like for the open access journals, you have to pay in order to get your article published, and for the subscription based journals, you don't have to pay a single penny. And normally, if you'll ask me, I'll recommend publishing in subscription based journals rather than open access journals. And then there's another question. There are many journals they charge. Is there any option to publish paper in the same journal without any fees? For the journals who charge for for their publication, you can raise a concern that you don't have sufficient fund. They can reduce their fees and all this. But overall, I'll not recommend publishing in these journals. Definitely, I'll not recommend this thing. And is there any other question? Yeah, there's a recent question which was, what is the best way to start reviewing papers from good publishers? I'm not sure what do you mean by reviewing. From reviewing, if you mean that you want to review the papers from that specific journal, you cannot review them directly. You have to normally the editors invite you to review the articles for a specific journal. You can definitely make a reviewer account over there, but the editors invite you. Like you cannot say that you want to become a reviewer of let's say IEEE transaction services computing or IEEE transaction and pattern analysis. You can just make a reviewer account, but you will not get invited as a reviewer because normally the editors invite the good researchers in that specific field for the reviewing. Like if you are publishing some good works in blockchain, you definitely will be invited by even in the top transactions of the field to get to review the articles. But if you are not publishing, there are very less likely chances that you will get invited as a reviewer. Apart from this, if you mean the reviewing from the studying the article, so you can definitely go and study the articles from these sources, and that's the best practice I would recommend. Okay, list of Q1, Q2 journals publish articles in minimum time, including decision to first submission to complete process of publication for electric without any charging. Uh, Almost all or even all of the subscription based journals they publish they are in Q1 and Q2 ranking. You can start from IEEE. You can check all the journals of IEEE, and majority of them are subscription based, and they will not even take a single penny from you for publication, and they publish without any charges. Definitely their reviewing process is pretty strict and it takes time, but that's how the research works. So that is a common practice around the research community. Give some ideas to be considered before writing an article for beginners. Just make sure which journal you are going to submit your work, and then start studying the articles of that journal and see what type of contributions is being carried out in that journal, and align your article according to the journal you are going to submit your work over. Any other question?
If anyone wants to ask any questions, please unmute your mic and then ask the question.
further questions? If there's any question, you can even email me afterwards. I'll be happy to discuss them with you. Sharing the email in the chat. So if there's any specific question, you can even email me afterwards. Taxonomy review and survey are same. They are pretty much the same. Like taxonomy is like you devise a detailed classification of the work. That review is also, these terminologies can vary according to the field. For example, like if you say you are doing you're working in some clinical psychology, review can be a different thing than a survey. And taxonomy can be a different thing, but usually they are interpreted as same. Yeah, I'll be sharing the presentation for today with Said bin Usman, and he can share it with you afterwards.
I hope there is no more question. Unfortunately, we are at the end of our session, therefore we cannot take any more questions. We'd like to express our gratitude to Dr. Minbul Hassan for his valuable time despite of his busy schedule. Thank you, sir, for your visionary speech. I hope everyone is benefited from the lucrative presentation.
Thank you so much. I guess there's a question from Habibullah. If there's time, otherwise we'll just conclude that. He's raising the hand. I'm not sure. It's a mistake or. Can you share this? I'll be sharing the slides with Said bin Usman, and he can share them afterwards, I believe. And that would be a good approach. Thank you for inviting me. And if there's any question, you can send me the email afterwards. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
We would also like to thank you, audience, for staying tuned until the end of the session. Now our quiz competition will begin. Participation certificate will be provided to participants who have attended the quiz. The quiz will be held through the Google Form. We will be providing the Google Form link in the chat box. Please complete the quiz as soon as possible. We will evaluate the form and provide certificate to the emails used for the registration. Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
There is a Google quiz link in the chat box. Please go to the link and provide the answers of the questions. We will evaluate the form and then provide the certificates in the emails. Thank you. আচ্ছা, আমাদের মিটিংটা আর 2 থেকে 3 মিনিটের মধ্যে শেষ হয়ে যাবে। আপনারা কাইন্ডলি গুগল কুইজ লিংকে ফর্মটা ফিল আপ করে ফেলেন।
আচ্ছা, আমরা কি এখান থেকে কোনো সার্টিফিকেট পাবো?
জি, আপনাদেরকে যে গুগল লিংকটা প্রোভাইড করা হয়েছে, আপনারা ওইটাতে ফর্ম ফিল আপ করলে সেটার সেইটা চেক করে এই ইভ্যালুয়েট করে আপনাদের ইমেইলে সার্টিফিকেটটা দেওয়া হবে আপনাদেরকে।